Okay, this is my review on Green Lantern 2011. I reviewed this one, but this is my review on the extended edition, I think. Well, director's cut. It's basically the uncut version of the Green Lantern movie from 2001. I already reviewed the theatrical cuts, now I've already reviewed the extended cut. The good news is it focused more on Hal Jordan. Bad news is it sucks, and it also focused more on a shitty villain that's a whiny little bitch, and we don't sympathize for, because he's just too fucking annoying and whiny. So that's the main reason. And focus, like the theatrical cut, it focused heavily, instead of the main focus should be on the Green Lantern, Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, we get our focus on a villain who turns into a cloud by the third act. And we don't even like him. You don't like him. You don't sympathize for him. You don't feel bad for him because it doesn't give you enough reasons to feel bad for him. It only gives you one reason to feel bad for him, and it's that his father thinks that he's a loser. But there's not enough. Oh shit, that sucks for you, bro. You're the moments that to sympathize for. Yet and that gives him a reason. That one thing gives him a reason to turn evil in the theatrical cut and in the extended edition, because we don't know what his backstory is, if he has sheer childhood or not. Like in Joker, when he was main protagonist and the main villain of the film, but you loved him because you sympathized with him, because you understood where he was coming from, and he wasn't whiny about it. To a point it got annoying. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie. It's like they don't know if you want to make him. They don't know if they want to make him a very mysterious, cool, intimidating monster, or a sympathetic, pathetic person. That's just sad, and it has drifted into madness, and the madness only. This trauma only increased when he got the powers, the suit powers, and that is, it's just like, no, that's not good and convincing enough. You're like, I mean, yeah, I mean, if they want to come, I mean, it makes sense when Jack Nicholson did it, and you didn't know what his backstory was, but you knew he was very not well in the head and intimidating before he went completely batshit insane and hilarious before he became the Joker. He was definitely kind of a fruit. You could tell that he was a fruitcake, but because the movie hinted at. But when he turned into Joker, he just completely embraced and stopped fighting against the mask and embraced fruitcake animal instincts. And focus more on Jack, and even though if focused more on Jack Nicholson, the movie Jack Nicholson had more screen time in the 1989 Batman film, you at least was enjoying it. You're very enjoyable of him, a villain, and a likable villain, and an interesting villain, and a funny villain, and an intimidating villain. And by the third act, you understand and then when the third act, and when it was getting closer and closer to the third act, that's when Batman became more of the main, got more screen time, and then Jack Nicholson did, because you started peeling away layers of Batman's character slowly, but by the third act, by the third act, once the third got, and he explained that he doesn't know what to say about what he does sometimes, but he just doesn't know why he has to. He just knows he has to because he has this instinct to, because it's in his nature. And it's hinted at his backstory, but because of Jack Nicholson, because he's so deranged, and the fact that he was the person that killed his parents, you understand, okay, that traumatized him and that messed him up. Now he's going to get vengeance on his family. Right. Yeah, so he does. And you see that, well, also while he's doing that, it's also highlighting the fact that he is a hero, Batman. Batman saving many, many lives in the third act. Many of them, like billions. The whole Gotham City was left before Joker. What's left of Gotham City? That's in Gotham City Park. Pretty much the whole crowd out of Gotham City came out to see the parade planned by the Joker, only to leave it as a death trap for the crowd, and Batman saves the day, comes in to save the day, and takes away the balloons. And okay, you're highlighting he's also an important element of the character, and that he's also a hero. This movie, the theatrical and the extended cut, do not highlight that Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, played by Ryan Reynolds, is an important element of the movie at all in any of the three acts. In fact, he feels less important in the third act than he did in the first two acts to the movie, and feels even less like a hero because you see him a less proactive hero. He does less stuff as the film goes on as an active hero. He does less heroic deeds as the film goes on. Well, he did save a crowd. That's like in the first or second act, but once we get to the third act, I like how he shows him, okay, he saved kids. Okay, what else he's going to save? That's it. That's all he saves. And then he has the balls. He has the balls, thinks that he has the balls and the right to say the Green Lantern oath, acknowledging the fact that he's embraced his Green Lantern and his hero nature? No! Because it's still focused on heavily on the villain. If you want to make it focus, because here's the thing with these kind of movies, see, Batman 1989 and Batman Returns got it right with, because it focused mainly on the villain. It's mostly in the first act, but it focused more on the heroes once it got to the third and second act. And it seems like, because I'm highlighting the fact that, yes, the villain stuff is important to the movie, but it's also important, the hero is also an important element, a key important element, and what can drive the movie forward, besides the villains. And that hero is what brings hope, and we're going to highlight that this person's hero by upping the ante, him doing more impossible things by saving more countless lives each time he performs. He saved more countless lives in the first or second act, when he first saved people, than in the third act, which is when he's supposed to really embrace the hero nature. Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, and the theatrical and in the extended version. Instead of the uncut, director's cut, whatever you want to call it, they mean the same thing because they're the untouched versions of the project. Supposedly. Of this version of this person's version of the film. But this... I understand what I was trying to do. It's trying to do what Batman Returns and Batman 1989 did. But it does it the wrong way. Everything that it accomplished, what it's trying to do, does it wrong, or it does it in a way it feels unfinished in every visual and sound design way and story narrative way. And the story feels always too cluttered. There's not enough moments for the hero or the villain to breathe and let you soak in. Yes, this is who they are. Or, yes, you get it. Or, yeah, well, they're doing this. Both sides of the same coin. The hero and the villain, the yin to the yang. But it doesn't give you a moment to understand either points of views. Therefore, you don't root for either one of them. I don't want either one to win because there's no reason for you. It doesn't give you a reason to care. to give a shit. That's the point of movies, for you to give a shit about at least some character that is supposed to be the main character. But it doesn't do that. You know, I take it back. Constantine is not the worst DC film or thing that's ever come out. Or not even the first live adaptation of Wonder Woman from the 1979. Yes. 1974. This one. Because not even the Dark Knight from 2000 starring Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, which is the worst Batman adaptation I have ever seen, is nearly as unreal as this piece of horse shit, because it doesn't give you any point of perspective of any of the characters that are the main characters. Even the side characters don't get point of perspective. You don't get their point of perspective. You're just supposed to care as in, well, because you read the comics, so you're supposed to, though the expected is care for, is the sake of caring for, because you read the source material. But that's not how it works, because not everyone has read a comic book. This is like, not everyone will care about the racial relationship between Miley and Harry. Harry, Miley, and Ron in the Harry Potter franchise, because not everyone has read the fucking book series, okay? The only time we really truly care about them is in Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows Part 1, which is the best Harry Potter film, the most superior Harry Potter adaptation, even more than the first two, and there's only 2 out now, of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and there's going to be like 9 of them. Total, or there's only a total of 10 or 9 of them. I looked this up, and that's what they're planning. Supposedly, if it does successfully well, it keeps on doing successfully well and financially well and critically well, you know. But I don't know how long people are going to fall for that trick. Please try quiet. Okay, I don't know how long. I'll try my best. I don't know how long people are going to keep on falling for that Harry Potter franchise. I say Harry Potter franchise, but it's the Fantastic Beasts and the original Harry Potter franchise take place in the same continuity. It's just a prequel to the original not so great franchise. Is a mixed bag, except for Deathly Hallows Part 1. Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1, because the reason I say underwhelming misses the point of the book series, because the book series are supposed to be about the comedic relationship between Harry and his friends, and what he has in common with them, and how he relates to them. But that's not what the movies really mainly most of the movies focus on. They just focus on Harry becoming the Messiah of Messiahs for Hogwarts. And they hammer that into your head than the stuff that's supposed to be hammered into your head, which is the power of friendship. So basically, it did the last Airbender plot that M. Night Shyamalan did from 2010, the only M. Night Shyamalan adaptation that is out now involving the last Airbender franchise, and hopefully that's the only one, before M. Night Shyamalan did it. But did a sort of mixed bag of, M. Night Shyamalan just did it complete shit, and it can do a successful way and interesting and investment way, M. Night Shyamalan's version of The Last Airbender, because you know that, because it was done with several Harry Potter several Harry Potter movies in the main franchise of Harry Potter. with Emma Watson, and I forget what the other two guys' name that played Harry and Ronald Weasley. So, okay. So where am I going with this? What I'm going with this is a good and bad way to do a formula. Because Green Lantern is trying to do what the first two Michael Keaton Batmans did. Just like M. Night Shyamalan's trying to do, and I'm talking about Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern live adaptation, the first Ryan Reynolds movie that he played Green Lantern, and I'm guessing he's going to play Green Lantern again, but hopefully the script is well. But in the editing as well, and the visuals and everything's well. Besides Hal Jordan's performance as Green Lantern. Because here's the thing. Ryan Reynolds doesn't do a bad job as Green Lantern. He actually does a better job performing as Green Lantern than Michael Keaton did as Batman. I said that for the first two Batman films starring Michael Keaton. Wonder why? Because he gets the heart and humor of the main character from the comics. Of Ryan Reynolds, of Ron on Green Lantern, which is Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, which was created in the Silver Age and still going on today, and is the most successful, most famous Green Lantern in the comics. Even more than the first Green Lantern from the Silver Age, which was Guy Gardner, I think his name is. Green Lantern, that's the first Green Lantern from the Golden Age. Then it was Silver Age, which put the Green Lantern on, really got going, which really got the Green Lantern character really going, and that was Ryan Reynolds' take on the Green Lantern from the Silver Age. However, those stories and characters were highlighted well, and were received well, for good reason, because they didn't suck. Why didn't this movie work? And I'm explaining why this movie didn't work, and if you're not following along, it's because they don't highlight the point of view and give you, they only highlight how Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, who is Hal Jordan, who was the Green Lantern in the Silver Age that started in the Silver Age, and is the most famous, successful Green Lantern than the original Green Lantern, including the original Green Lantern, as the most successful, famous Green Lantern to this day in the comics world. And in animation form. However, even though Ryan Reynolds does a perfect job, gives it his 100%, as much as he gives his 100% in the extended cut and in the theatrical cut of this film, it is not good enough to call it a good film. The same goes for Keanu Reeves' Constantine, for feeling like Constantine in the first 15 minutes of the film and the last 15 minutes of the film. But the rest, because Keanu Reeves in the writing feels like it's okay, you're doing it. You're being Constantine. You too, Keanu Reeves, you're giving it all. What happened? Because somewhere in the middle, you decide to phone it in. And the end of the film, the parts where Keanu Reeves is not giving a shit. Because he knew where this one was heading. Because he knew that they didn't know what they're doing. Because he promised to read the script but why did he turn down the script to Constantine? But he turned down the script to Speed 2 because he had a feeling that it wasn't going to be that great of a film. And I like Speed 2, but it's not that great a film like the first one. And at some points, people's eyes, I can see why it sucks. Because it's not a faithful adaptation of the first one that continues the story. In fact, it's the same problem with Hollow Man 2. Has the same problem that Speed 2 has. And has the same problem that Hellboy 2 has. even though Hellboy 2 is a superior film than Hellboy 1. However, the same is not said for Hollow Man and 2 and Hollow Man that is superior than Hollow Man 1. Because it's not in every way. Same goes for Speed 2. What I'm trying to say is, those are reboot sequels. And I understand why they did that with Hellboy, because the Hellboy films, as popular as it was, as much money as it wasn't succeed that well by the success was received well by the audience and critics when it first came out, and for good reasons. It barely focused on Hellboy. In fact, Hellboy has less screen time than Ryan Reynolds does as Green Lantern, and the extended cut and of the theatrical of 2011's first live adaptation of Green Lantern, Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. So, but why did Hellboy kind of work where Green Lantern is filled? Because when it got to the third act, it was clear that Hellboy was an important character because it highlighted his humanity and how much he truly cares for the love of his life, and how he's willing to put all his own life on the line for not just for the love of his life, but for the entire world, because he sees more of himself in the humans than he does in the demon side, even though it doesn't highlight that he's half human and half demon, because it doesn't we don't want to know what Hellboy is. You just, it's like, pull spec because it's comics. But you understand but by the third act, when it got to the third act, you were rooting for Hellboy 100% because it showed you his humanity's side. Because the line I love, the perfect scene because it highlight his humanity side, but also highlight his humor side. Because when he delivers the line, like to the new guy that was supposed to take his father's place and make him into a man, and he becomes a man, but through the power of, not just through his memories of his dad, who is 100% human and died murder again voluntarily but not just was dying of some sort of illness, but also got murdered while dying of some sort of illness that Hellboy didn't know of, but knew about getting murdered. Hellboy's dad got murdered. He didn't know about his dad was sick, because he didn't want Hellboy to worry about him. He understood where his father was coming from once he got to the third episode. Because Hellboy, even though he could be a jerk most of the times to everyone and obnoxious and rude, and however, he's not really a monster. He's just softy. A softy. He's like a kid. A phone grow, maybe he looks, Hellboy in the film looks like he's in his middle age, but he's not in his 20s, because he ages the reverse route of dog years. So, and he has become a legend, but not 100% proof that the world can prove that he exists, but there's signs that he exists, because Hellboy is reckless. He is passionate about what he does. He is passionate for humanity. And he's also passionate for those people that are close to him most of all, like his fathers and Lives, and that fish guy, and the new guy by the third act. Because he decides, even though he loves life relations, he can't force things to happen. They have to happen naturally. That's why he decides to accept the new guy as Liz's new love interest, even though he completely misses, it's a complete misunderstanding. So once, then Hellboy is told by the new guy, and that he reminds Hellboy by like throwing him his father's cross, and Hellboy catches it, and he remembers how much his father loved him, and how much his father saw humanity in him, how much good he saw, how much good Hellboy saw, how much good Hellboy's father saw in Hellboy. And that, even though he can be reckless, rude, impatient, arrogant, a lot, he's he's no more less human than anyone. He's more human than anyone in the film because he's more passionate than anyone in the film. And the new guy is reminded that what his father said to him, he reminds Hellboy of his father, who he cares for the most. When Hellboy loses this everything when his father gets dead. And however, then you understand what Hellboy is. He has humanity. He's not a hero. He's not reckless and patient. He's a softie. He's like a big giant tabia he's like a big giant tabia, a big softie, a big kid. This is like the Hulk in the comics. I mean, and I love the part in the movie when he just rips off the horns rips off the horns, and he decides that because he remembers who he is because of the love that his father showed to him at such a young age, and continue to show him as an adult when he was fully grown. And the fact that, and even though he never saw the moment that he became a man when he looked at his father's cross after he passed away. However, his father was there with him in spirit, because you could tell that Hellboy remembered his father. Because his father reminded him what it was like to feel human, what it was like to feel like a good person. Because that's the way Hellboy might be. He's a great kid.